I was in the middle of talking and something happened. Hi, Spudge90. I'm picking up where, thank you, I can see Caroline, Jax, Susie Welsh, hi. I can see people catching up because I was partway through a sentence when my internet rudely dropped out. Great. Lovely to see everybody catching up with the fact that I've reconnected. If you get a chance, and if you haven't so far, let me know where you're joining from, and also particularly let me know if you have a question. I was talking about friendship. I was talking about friendship as a potential resource when we're under stress, and I was also talking about the fact that in my experience and what I see, oh, hi, that Taylor Doyle, Chicago. In my experience, as the Agony out for Psychologies, I often get letters like, I'm not sure if it's every month, but every second month, let's say. Thanks, I got it right, Taylor, thank you. Zanu from Athens in Greece. I would get a letter very frequently from somebody who is having a problem with their friend. And what I notice is that the women who write to me have kind of lost sight of a couple of points about friends. One is, we are supposed to like our friends. It's quite basic, but it's easy to fall into a kind of relationship with somebody and not stop and think about how much you actually do have in common and how much you actually like them. Leap a Little, hello, from South Africa. That's fab. So we sometimes forget to work out how much we actually like these people who are in the role of being our friends. And that is not a decision that we can make on immediate acquaintance. It takes a while to make up your mind whether you really like somebody, because you want to go through a number of experiences with that person and kind of observe, right, okay, I'm going to come back to this. Re-friendship. How do you support someone close to you who's going through an addiction to alcohol? She's starting to seek help, but it's heartbreaking to watch this self-sabotage. Curious Creative Club. Oh, thank you for that question. Do you know what? I admire your Instagram lives. I've been watching them, and I think that you probably have a lot of the answers for yourself. I'm not sure what resources are available on the... somebody on here will be able to tell me. Is it Al-Anon, which is the kind of branch of AA that is dedicated to family and friends of people with an alcohol addiction? You're really welcome. Curious Creative Club is saying thank you. It is incredibly tough, and I hope it doesn't sound too uncaring to say that being able to tolerate the heartbreak is part of your contribution as a friend. Being able to tolerate the heartbreak for yourself and understand that this is not deliberate on the part of your friend, and it's not something that she can fix. And it's possibly not something that you can fix immediately either. It makes me think a little bit more about some of the sayings around grief. You're experiencing grief and fear from watching your friend struggle with this addiction. And grief, in that phrase that we all learned, which actually I've got the book that it comes from, but I can't... Colin Murray Parks. Grief is the price we pay for love. When we love somebody, when they're our friend, our dear friend, they will have the capacity to hurt us by their actions, whether those actions are directed at other people at ourselves or at themselves. It is part of the package. When we love, we're also exposed to hurt and grief. I'm thinking about how you can... you were asking how to support a friend who is starting to seek help. And I think you were also slightly asking about how to deal with your own heartbreak. It's really tough, really tough. So self-compassion for your heartbreak would be one of my thoughts. How can you allow the sadness to be present and not to dominate? What I find with sadness, with fear, with anger, is that when we allow it to be present without overindulging it, it tends to pass more quickly. Again, I'd love to know if anything that I'm saying is helpful to you and if it might resonate. I've been talking about friendship. I've been talking about how our friends are part of our kind of resilience resource. And Zanu, quarantine has made me rethink and reorder my friends, which might leave me with only a few. Tips to find a new similar mindset people. I think this is pretty common, actually. I think we have really taken notice of who is, even when they can't physically be there for us, who is kind of emotionally there for us at the moment. And we might have noticed that there's some friends who we kind of don't miss. Maybe we haven't been in touch with them and we just don't really miss them. Because I don't know about you, but there's a part of me, I notice, feeling under more time pressure at the moment. I feel as if I've somehow got more to fit in, especially in terms of socialising. It's weird. And maybe, I'm thinking about this, maybe that's partly because that Taylor... Yes, do what you love or like and observe who is also doing the same thing in that space. That is more or less exactly what I was going to get around to saying. Thank you, Taylor. That has always been my experience. That my little mantra is, okay, right, I'm coming back to Curious Creative Club. I just really want to help her. I'm not so worried about me. Do we just be kind, or should we be more honest to try and get her to take it more seriously in terms of her health? I think you can be kind and honest. And the way in which I'd give that feedback is say, this is what I notice. I notice that it's really difficult to talk to you, and I don't get the feeling that you're able to listen to me. I notice that you repeat yourself when you're talking to me. Would you be able to say things like that? I love you, and I notice that you seem really unhealthy. It seems to me that you don't have the energy you would like to have. I want to really encourage you. I will love you no matter what, but I want to really encourage you to take whatever steps you can to support your own health. I really want you to be around. I want us to be sitting together in 20 years' time, watching ducks on the river maybe, or walking together, cycling together. Yeah, so thank you. That might be a good way of saying it. It's a kind of a factual observation, and you can talk about your own feelings. You know, I think it's very valid, without making her responsible, to say, I love you and it's breaking my heart at the moment. I will love you no matter what. I've said that about the 20 years time thing. Oh, that's fab. Yeah. It's so special and amazing. Susie Welsh, who's on here, is a friend of mine, and she and I have plans to still be going sailing in 20 years, Susie, do you think? So the way in which I've been talking about friendship, guilt-free, Taylor, yes, guilt-free. Going back to Zanu's question about how to connect more with people who are of a similar mindset. It is doing, my little mantra is you meet people that you like when you're doing things you like. And they could be active things or they could be quiet things. They might be knitting, a creative endeavour. In fact, Curious Creative Club, I'd like to hear your ideas for meeting other creative people. That would be really helpful. For me, it's getting a little bit active. I'm not missing my extended family since lockdown. Is that bad? None of us really kept in touch. I don't have a similar mindset with them anymore. Is that bad? I don't know. I'm never one for judging things like that. I like to listen to what's going on. If you haven't missed your extended family, that's a piece of data. That's what there's somebody called Susan David who writes about emotional agility, and she talks about emotion as data. So you have got some information on an emotional level about the strength of your relationship with your family. Taylor is saying that doesn't mean you don't love them. Yeah, I think you can love a particularly extended family and not have the desire to be in touch with them all the time. I think missing is for the dead. Wow. Well, that's... yeah, I'd have to think about whether I agree with that. I think missing is for the dead. I think... there's lots. Okay. Curious Creative Club says about connection and finding other creative people. It's about... Here we go. It's about having a bit of courage, but if you join local groups, they're so supportive and you learn more skills quickly. For example, art clubs and demos. That's what worked for me. So Zanu, thank you. Zanu's saying thank you. Which of those do you think you might follow up on? Do you think it'll be the creative things? Do you think it might be something active? Do you think it could be something spiritual, following up on a spiritual interest? But it's incredibly uplifting when you meet somebody and you just realise that there's already a lot that you have in common. And I have resources on my website for this at the Curious Creative Club under the Curious Cave section. So anybody who's interested in meeting other people with an interest in creativity, have a look at that, Curious Creative Club. I'm going to tell a little story about Susie Welsh, who I said was on here. I met Susie because I had joined a book club, which ultimately that book club wasn't for me, but that's another way of meeting people, depends. Part of the reason that book club wasn't for me is because as a widow, I felt a bit excluded when... definitely active and creative. We get to moan a lot and miss out on actually doing. Yeah, that's right, doing. Very, very useful. I was just talking about the book club and how it led me to my good new old friend Susie. One of the reasons that I wasn't particularly getting on with the book club is that it's not unusual for book clubs to go into, they just want to complain about their husbands or their children, making the assumption that it's all women, but that was my experience. And as a widow and as a single parent, I didn't have much to contribute. I mean, the stuff that I wanted to talk about was a bit different. However, one of the members of that book club said to me, I know another widow who likes sailing. And that is a pretty random combination, I would argue, although funnily enough, I now know several other widows who like sailing. But yeah, Susie Welsh has been one of these people who you meet and you get the feeling that even though we've only known each other for a short time, she is in the old friend category. Like she's a person that I feel I have a depth of connection with. So that's what can happen when you meet people who with whom you have got something in common already. I haven't got around to saying the things I intended to say originally about friendship, and I might talk about it again, but my metaphor for friendship at the moment is, it's a bit of a gardening metaphor. I've now been living in the UK for long enough that I've become a bit British or a bit English in my interest in gardens, and when garden centres reopened, I was genuinely thrilled. So, Curious Creative Club, I definitely felt like I'd met my people when I joined creative groups. Today, for example, I've just been on an experience of learning through, because I belong to the National Union of Journalists, and there's the Federation of Entertainment Unions. This is worth knowing to anybody who is a member of the following unions: the National Union of Journalists, the Writers' Club, Equity, or the Musicians' Union. Those four unions together make up the Federation of Entertainment Unions, and they offer free training. So today, I've been on some training learning how to use Canva with other creative freelance people, and that I love that environment to learn in. People who are joining, in case you missed it, I'm Mary Fenwick. I write the Agony art column for Psychologies magazine, and I'm here every Tuesday at 5:30, usually for about half an hour, answering questions live and encouraging you to ask questions, share your stories, share your experiences. Taylor says she loves Canva. Well, I'm a Curious Creative Club. Canva is fab. Sounds like we've got a whole Canva subgroup going on. I've been scared of Canva, so it was great to be with other creative freelance people and feel like I was having my hand held to try it out. So the metaphor that I'm using about friendship is a gardening one. And I like to think of the ways in which we might seed, feed, and weed our friendships. We seed our friendships by the quality of attention that we are able to bring to the moment. And a lot of us have probably noticed that we are feeling scattered, distracted, less able to focus for the last few months, and that is to do with this general anxiety that we've talked about earlier. But our quality of being able to be present is what enables us to build deeper and more sustaining and more sustainable friendships. Jax Bailey says alone. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You're watching this alone, or elaborate, Jax. I'd like to hear. We seed our friendships by the quality of attention that we can bring and by the quality of our presence, our ability to listen, and our willingness to, I miss feeling present when I'm working. Okay. Tell me more about that. This is from Vic 84150. I miss feeling present when I'm working. I'm not sure if you are saying that you used to feel present when you're working and you don't anymore, or when you're working, you don't feel present. I'm just a little bit confused about what you're saying. Taylor's saying again, do what you love. So in the metaphor of seed, feed, and weed friendships, we seed them by the quality of our presence and attention, and by seeking out environments in which, part of the seeding is seeking out the right environment for that friendship to grow. So seeking out the environment where there's likely to be like-minded people. We feed a relationship by our ability to listen and our ability to open up and be vulnerable, our willingness to open up and be vulnerable. There is a researcher who says that true friendship starts when one person or the other says, "Can I talk to you about something?" And that's a signal that they're going to open up to you a bit more. So pay attention if anybody asks you that question, and pay attention maybe to when you might choose to say that and to open up a bit more to somebody else. So when I talk about weeding our friendships, in a sense that's where I started, which is the letters that I get in my role with Psychologies magazine from women who are feeling doubtful about a particular friend and feel too tormented to let that friendship go. I'm not necessarily talking about having to dump friends when I talk about weeding. I'm more talking about weeding out misunderstanding, or weeding out a gap in your knowledge, or acknowledging that maybe your friendship is getting overgrown with a lot of assumptions or habits, or it might be getting overgrown through the habit of neglect. So that's what I mean by weeding your friendship group. I'm going to wrap up because I've gone slightly over my intention, and I'm going to go and sit in a little corner of my garden where there is still sunshine for another few minutes. So if you already know Psychologies magazine, you probably know that in the link in the bio, thank you, Taylor, that's really lovely to have you join us, thanks. Friends make life special, says Jax Bailey. Taylor says, nice to meet you. Coach Claire says, thank you. If you want to follow me individually, I'm on at Mary the Fenwick. Kia Cannon Rocks. Okay. I've missed the link, but that's not unusual for me. There's a link in the bio of Psychologies magazine to get a copy of the magazine delivered to you directly. I'm here every Tuesday, 5:30, Weekly Wisdom with Mary Fenwick. Thank you so much for joining me, and hope to see some of you next time. Bye.